Hi everyone, you are welcome to our program. Here is Media back to the stage. In this edition, we will go through the review of Dr. Professor Soludo'S visit to the United States of America, especially to the communities of Igbos in Maryland. As we are on the review of this journey to America, you will also understand that his journey and speech was a controversial one. That is why Media will analyze and expose the implications, what the implications of this journey meant to the Igbos of southeastern region of Nigeria, as well as the entire Biafra land, Nigeria, and the world at large. Nigeria. Before we continue this program, please, if you have not subscribed to this channel, we ask you to do so. Thank you. The questions are, who is Professor Soludo? Why did he travel to United States of America? And his protective measures against the Fulani marauding herdsmen in southeastern region of Nigeria, and especially in Anambra State, where he is the governor. There is also the question of native doctors' arrest and the controversy that brought about the issue of native doctors' arrest in Anambra State over the insecurity in southeastern region of Nigeria. Summarily, the three important issues that brought Governor Soludo to United States will be treated one after the other. It cannot be clustered together. We want to take it one after the other so that our listeners will understand the logic behind the travel. First, the issue of insecurity in southeastern region of Nigeria, whereby the United States and international human rights organizations presented their annual reports on Nigerian security. It was discovered that United States and the international organizations' reports indicted Nigerian government, the security agencies, and the Fulani terrorist group, as well as southeastern region governors, that they were part of the problems, not IPOB as claimed, not the youths as claimed, but the involvement of the governors were condemned in the strongest terms. Then the issue of native doctors' arrests by Governor Soludo in many parts of Anambra State. It must be made public that the arrest of native doctors, locking them up, putting them to prisons, were the demand of Nigerian army and some Fulani political figures. Reason, they believe that the native doctors prepare chance for members of IPOB ECN, hence directed Soludo to act or stop it or risk his second term as governor of Anambra State. This we will treat separately, not jointly with this very program. But what we are laying is the foundation of why Governor Soludo traveled to Maryland in United States to meet the Anambra people, to explain to them what he believed and what he designed out of the demands of the military, out of the demands of the Fulani cabals, to change the narrative and incriminate the United States of America, human rights groups, the IPOB, and also the Igbo Youths. These are the aggravated move made by the Anambra State Governor, Professor Soludo. All these were the propaganda designed by the federal government of Nigeria and their allies and groups to counter the reports about insecurity in the southeast, whereby the governor of Anambra State instead turned it upside down against Igbo youths in accordance with the mission sent through him. Before Media brings in evidences to counter all the allegations leveled against the Igbo youths, we will make known who Soludo is. He is one of the governors selected by Buhari and the Fulani INEC group during the 2021 governorship election, headed by Professor Mahmoud Yakubu. This was because he showed his willingness to join the Buhari jihadist crusade against the Igbos. Hence, he joined Southeast Fulani Servants Association, Southeastern branch, headed by the Imo State Governor, Governor Hope Uzodinma of Igbo State. In 2021, Governor Soludo'S satisfied all the conditions before he was issued certificate from Buhari's INEC chairman as the governor of Anambra State, one of the 5 states in southeast of Nigeria. According to Wikipedia of Governor Soludo, he stated he was born on 28 July 1960 in Agwata, Eastern Region, British Nigeria. That is what was stated in this very area. He is a Nigerian politician, banker, and economist. All these are beautiful and shows his academic ability and work experiences. Then we will go back to what he stated in this very Wikipedia of his. He stated that he was born in Agwata, Eastern Region, British Nigeria. He made it known that he is a British Nigerian. He grew up in the village of Isuofia in Agwata, Anambra State of British Nigeria in Biafra land, attending Oga Boys High School and the University of Nigeria in Soka. He is a teacher by profession and a visiting scholar at International Monetary Fund, the University of Cambridge, the Brookings Institution, the University of Warwick, University of Oxford, as well as visiting professor also at Swarthmore College, United States of America. All these are great experiences and exposures that is expected to help not only Anambra people or Igbos, but Nigeria and the world at large. However, it is unfortunate that with all these experiences and qualifications, he is being manipulated by the cabals to his needs and against his own people, and they carry out instructions accordingly just to get his re-election back as governor of Anambra State. Now we will go back to his speech in Maryland about his mission, about what he felt that we place the cabals, government of Tinubu, Nigerian army, and also exonerate the Fulani men that are killing people in the southeast, as well as the governors of southeast of Nigeria, who were indicted also by the reports. Let us listen to him and all he has to say. Now everybody had him right, and what he said by himself, he stated that 99.99% of the criminal activities are being caused by the Igbo youths and not the Fulani men, as people speculate. He has done his research and has concluded from his data that it is the Igbo youths. But many videos have circulated. The angers of the Igbo youths and the consequences of this right now is that the governor of Anambra State, Governor Soludo, has made the world to know and believe that there is no Boko Haram in southeast of Nigeria, no bandits, no Fulanis in the bushes, but the Igbo youths. Well, the Igbo youths have responded from various social media to exonerate themselves, but this cannot help them by just denying it in the social media without providing evidence, concrete evidence, long before he entered into the Government House of Anambra State that what the governor of Anambra State, Professor Soludo'S, said is blatant lies. Perhaps he has been living in a different world before he became the governor of Anambra State. We will bring security experts to explain Soludo that he was wrong and that the sentiment he brought in not only to convince the people of Anambra State in Maryland, but it has gone viral to the entire world what he voiced out, and people are doing research to prove if what Professor Soludo said is right or wrong. But in the first instance, before we bring in an expert, a security expert into this we will recall what took place in various parts of Anambra State between 2016 to 2025. But we'll be selective, we'll make it a random selection and put it before the public to show that Soludo is a desperate governor of Anambra State who wants to return to the State House by every means, using lies to actualize his second term as demanded by the cabals and the Tinubu government. Again, let us play what took place in Anambra State when the former governor of Anambra State, Obiano, was in power. Let us watch this video together.
Another seriously injured in Omase, an agricultural community in Ayamelum local government area of the state. The violence is said to have started after the herdsmen invaded the farms of the villagers with their cattle, devouring and destroying their agriculture inputs. A warning by the farmers to the herdsmen is said to have been ignored. The state governor, Mr. Willie Obiano, who visited the Anambra State Teaching Hospital in Amaku, where one of the injured farmers is receiving treatment, condemned the attack on farmers and promised that the perpetrators will be brought to justice.
Came in here to see the injured, particularly the people injured at Omase by the Fulani cattle rearers. The kind of dispatch we made with respect to the joint task force in that location. We are going to address this case once and for all. Although they are on the run now, but we are going to pick all of them and stop them from harassing innocent people in their lands. You know, they either engage peacefully or they are out of the place. We are not going to tolerate any form of attack by these miscreants. Disguising themselves as cattle Fulani rearers.
It's against the youth and is desperate for power by making the Fulani hitmen who are causing havoc all over Nigeria and other West African countries like Niger, Mali, Burkina Faso, but to mention a few, as sets while presenting the Igbo youths as criminals before the international community. Let us watch together. Nigerian mainstream channels are broadcasting about the insecurity in Anambra State and the death tolls from the Fulani hitmen. With this video, you will find out that Professor Soludo formed his Agony chamber like a Bubako, which are geared towards against Igbo youths rather than against any Fulani invader. We have not had any report from either a Bubako or Agony chamber where they have arrested any Fulani hitmen, just like other vigilantes all other parts of the Nigerian states. Let us see what happened.
Armed assailants suspected to be Fulani herdsmen have
Obiano treated each case about the Fulani killings in Anambra State. Let us watch together.
ordered a full-scale investigation into the incident and deployed additional security to the region to contain the problem. Mohammed failed to confirm whether arrests have been made, but assured that the Anambra people that the assailant would be brought to book. Reports also suggest that security operatives, including the army and police, have cordoned off the affected community pending further investigation. According to eyewitness report, however, the herdsmen entered farm settlement in the area, burning houses, raping women, beheading 6 men, and injuring 30 others during the attack. Residents of the affected community also said that the farmers were still trying to recover from a previous herdsman attack which had claimed 3 lives. Speaking on the incident, the Anglican Bishop of Mbamili Diocese, retired Reverend Henry Okechukwu Okeke, condemned the killings by the attackers, describing it as unfortunate, obnoxious and inhumane. The Anambra State Commissioner for Information and Enlightenment, Don Andinuba, also confirmed that Governor Willie Obiano had been informed of the unfortunate incident and was forced to cut short his trip overseas. Roots TV Nigeria.
First, from the Roots TV, which reported in 2019 that Fulani hitmen attack Anambra, kill 3. Here the reporter stated that Anambra citizens were beheaded, killed, houses burnt down. The Igbo Youths did not do it. I don't know where Professor Soludo got his only information except to criminalize Igbo Youths in order to get governorship position in return. That is a total sellout. Then we will watch another video where security expert Kabir Adamu explained to the world the meeting between the United States envoy and Miati Allah, for which Mr. Adamu attended the meeting himself, who now explains what has gone wrong within the camp of the Fulani cattle rearers, and here the formations or the divisions among them.
Right-thinking person would hold dearly to it. So it was on that basis that the U.S. government decided to hold a meeting to understand better what this coalition of Fulani associations were trying to say. And of course, that was discussed. And the U.S. government did, in very categorical terms, state clearly that developments in Benue, developments in Plateau State were worrisome to it. They felt that perhaps it, based on the narratives they have received from certain quarters, that there is an attempt at either targeting Christians or killing Christians. And then, of course, the coalition explained to the U.S. government that they themselves are also victims. In fact, they gave the number of Mieti Allah leaders in several locations in Nigeria, including in Plateau State, that have been killed. That in places like Katsina, in Kwara State recently, that have been killed. They also gave instances of their victimization. The most recent was in Kogi State, where over 100+ Fulani persons were arrested and then detained illegally, and at the end of it, a substantial number of them were killed. So in summary, it was a meeting in an attempt to discuss a way out by groups that felt they are also victims and that they are interested in fostering peace and interested in finding a better solution than what is currently happening in the country.
Okay, well, that's a very interesting background that you gave. This, from a diplomatic perspective, Dr. Kabir, would you say that this entire meeting is also a reflection on us as a country and our security system in this country? How would you say it reflects? Does it show an inability for us to handle our issues? Of course, we know that there are several sectors within Nigeria that have also had meetings with this same group. So now, with the U.S. Embassy saying that, you know, they decided Ambassador Richard Mills had a meeting with the Mieti Allah, what does it reflect on us, and how do you you think this meeting is going to further improve this farmer-herder clash, especially because a lot of Nigerians are now saying that the victims as well should have their own voice in this situation?
So it's important to emphasize that the victims have their voice. In fact, what led to the meeting is the fact that the perceived perpetrator did not have a voice. I'm sure you probably saw it on different accounts, social media, mainstream media, where a certain clergyman from Benue State attended, I think it was a congressional hearing in the US, and gave an account of what he felt was the types of atrocities committed by Fulanis in Benue State against churches. He listed the number of churches that had been destroyed. So yes, the victim, quote unquote, did have a voice. And what the coalition attempted to do was to say, okay, if you are discussing us, why don't you include us in that discussion too? Because in that particular meeting, that congressional hearing, no Fulani person was listened to. And like I tried to explain earlier, it's, I think, wrong to categorize an entire population, almost about 30 million, categorizing them as criminals or terrorists. So what the meeting attempted to do is to find a better framing for the issue. And it has gone beyond farmer-herder violence. And I think that's one thing that the meeting also established. Perhaps it started as farmer-herder violence, but several components of criminality has now crept in, and it has become institutionalized. One of them is banditry. It's an offshoot of this farmer-herder violence, unfortunately. Another one is cattle rustling. It's also an offshoot. The third or fourth one is kidnap for ransom. And then the fifth one or fourth one, depending on what we're counting, is the role of our security agencies. Unfortunately, that role too has been questioned severally. And to your second part, the second part of the question, the security situation that we have, accountability also was part of the conversations. Both sides, the assumed victim side and the assumed perpetrator side, wants accountability. What that meeting emphasized is that there must be accountability. If anyone commits an offense, irrespective of his ethnicity, of his religion, of his social status, of his political leanings, that person must be arrested and prosecuted. And perhaps the failure to arrest and prosecute is why we're where we are.
Yourself from the horse's mouth and not from Mac Media Group. Having had him explain the situation, it is for Mr. Soludo, Governor of Anambra State, to state categorically clear that he is sure that 99.99% of Igbo youths are kidnappers, living in bushes, and acting like Yahoo boys, making rituals for money. All these should have had limit, at least not to that very point. No person is arguing that many of Igbo boys are not doing things wrong, including Mr. Soludo himself. He was once accused and arrested by the EFCC for embezzlement, whether it is true or not. But those who did it then perhaps must have also given their point as 99.99% that the present-day Anambra State governor embezzled state money. That is why it is not good to give a figure, because when they gave figure on you as the governor of Central Bank that embezzled money, their percentage was wrong. When you defended yourself, you had at least reduced that percentage. The perception they had that made them to arrest you was reduced when you defended yourself, whether it is a compromise for a position or not, but it was somehow put under the carpet. That is why it is not good to quote for others. No one is free in Nigeria as long as you are involved in politics. Therefore, it is absolutely wrong once again for you to have made such categorical statement and put it in such a way that there is no error in what you have done. That is not academics. As an academician and a researcher, you have to give space for research, corrections, and also modeling. Thank you very much for listening. those who have not subscribed to this very channel, we ask you to do so. And if you think that the evidence provided to prove that not 99.9% of the youths are criminals as indicated by Governor Soludo, you give us thumb up and leave your own opinion. It is important. No one is perfect. Therefore, you give your opinion on what you think about this program. Mac Media wishes to use this opportunity to thank you and wish you well until we come to you once again with another program. Thank you and God bless you all. Bye.